What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, and back for an audio journey that has been waiting for some time, and indeed, for which, in the moment, I do not remember who I need to thank. I had a thought that maybe this is from Stuart, but I don't know if that's correct, so whoever it is, I very much appreciate the patience, and as I mentioned in a different reaction in this batch, I've been trying to catch up with albums I was given access to, emails with attachments, things I already downloaded but have been sitting on my music computer for a long time and not yet started, so I appreciate the patience. I thank everyone who has shared music with me, and my plan is, over the long haul, to get around to everything, so thank you once again. And yes, The Adventures, I looked them up on Discogs. Apparently they're a Northern Irish group from Belfast. So yes, in the moment, I can't say that I've ever heard anything by them. The name sounds vaguely familiar, but maybe it just has a certain quality to it that it sounds like a good name for a group, a band. Nevertheless, the first tune on The Sea of Love is Drowning in the Sea of Love, which I enjoy. It seems to take the concept of the album and turn it around or bring it into an unexpected domain, which is to say, A Sea of Love sounds like an immersive and all-encompassing body or bounty of love, but to be drowning in the Sea of Love sounds like maybe it's too much, or maybe you waded into the Sea of Love thinking it would be a great and enjoyable experience, only to find that there's more nuance to it. It's more complicated than that, and you might not be able to breathe emotionally. You might feel pain or indeed be in danger of dying emotionally. So again, I like the way just the addition of a couple extra words makes it far more opaque in terms of the feeling of the track. It does make me think of the lyrics to Depeche Mode's Strange Love, where he talks about, when you think I've had enough of your sea of love, I take more than another riverful, and that song certainly has a more narrow or specific meaning or context of the concept of love. Nevertheless, I couldn't help but think of it, but yeah, let's give it a listen. This is The Adventures, and the opening track from their 1988 album, The Sea of Love, called Drowning in the Sea of Love.
I'm drowning in the sea of love.
assuming that second voice that came in near the end is a female voice. I suppose it could be a like very high, almost falsetto male voice, but I'm thinking that's a female voice. And I didn't expect that. That was a very nice addition near the end. And speaking of near the end, I feel like it's the kind of tune that could very nicely fit into an 80s movie, and it feels specifically like the kind of track that would play during the last scene where, you know, everything like comes good, or where at least the emotion of the main character is just on full display, and then like leading into the end credits. I could literally see the end credits scrolling during a song like this. But okay, so lyrically it seems like it is very much what I was thinking in advance, which is to say it's someone who wants to love, who's involved in a relationship, or in fact maybe it's not even fully a relationship. It sounds like he's adjacent to this other person, but he's kind of at the mercy of their whims, their decisions. He doesn't have control over this person, he can't influence them, and maybe he's not getting a full reciprocation, or maybe even any reciprocation of the love that he feels for them. And so it sounds like he's been cut inside and feeling the pain that comes with love. And, you know, pain from love can come even in the best of times, but in more complicated situations, it can be perhaps one of the defining features, which is to say, if you're sort of closed off and you're walled off, then, you know, you're not likely to be hurt. You're not likely to feel the highs either, which again takes me back to Strange Love, Depeche Mode, like strange highs and strange lows. But you're not likely to be hurt and to be torn and dragged down. So it sounds like someone who's in the ocean of love, in the sea of love, but who's feeling pain and suffering because of that. And it feels like maybe there's a sense that they, you know, regret their decision, but they ultimately, you know, they're in too deep already. And this always happens. There's a couple lines that I was thinking of that now when we get to the outro, I'm failing to remember clearly. But yes, okay, so sonically it feels very like 80s power ballad, especially in the chorus. The chorus, you know, it's got those guitar licks that give it a bit of that edge, but also some keyboard, and it just feels like a real power ballad type of tune. In the verses, it felt a bit more like stripped down, or a bit less intense, and thus reminded me of like a Tears for Fears, Head Over Heels, or like OMD, If You Leave. It felt like that kind of tune, so still like in the ballad vein, but a bit less intense, whereas the choruses felt like they ramped up the intensity a little bit. So yeah, what was it, like Falling from the Stars? Like there's a couple lines, and there's like one or two that I'm really annoyed that I'm blanking on right now, because it was like part of what I was thinking about analyzing as the song was playing out. But yes, it feels like someone who's maybe at the mercy of someone else, maybe not getting full reciprocation, but is nevertheless in like free fall. They're like still, the trajectory, their emotional trajectory is still very powerful and very forceful. So yeah, I don't quite know what to make of it all, and I feel like there's going to be a line that I'm going to remember after the reaction ends. It's like, oh, that's the one I wanted to talk about. But a very compelling opener to the album. Absolutely enjoyed it. And again, it had that like 80s epic quality to it, which, as someone who grew up in the 80s, and, you know, some of my most powerful early experiences with music were during like the mid 80s, because again, I was born in 1980, so, you know, it's not till you get to like 83 or 84 that I'm old enough to start remembering things and paying attention and, you know, buying cassette tapes with my allowance and so on. So this reminds me of an era which defined my earliest experience with music, and ultimately, you know, has been part of where these reactions came from. I began reacting to, you know, groups like Erasure and Depeche Mode and so on early on, Duran Duran, and those are, you know, some of my earliest musical memories. So yes, it feels like this could have been a band that I ended up following, but just, you know, maybe they weren't played on the radio as much and so on. So either way, they weren't a group that came across my radar, even though again the name sounds vaguely familiar. But yes, to whoever shared them, I really do appreciate it. Please feel free to remind me. Any others of you who didn't share it but who know this group, please do chime in. And yes, I'm looking forward to going through the rest of the album. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.